In this video, we're going to walk through all the changes to Assembly Planner's virtual build module as we make this third major update to the virtual build module. As you may be familiar, in the virtual build module, we create a workspace. In the workspace, you have your routing and 3D product CAD file associated with each other. Now, in this release, you no longer have to have a 3D product CAD file to create a workspace, but I think you'll see the value in doing so. Additionally, you can now have multiple product routings in a workspace along with multiple product CAD files if you're working with multiple product models across multiple lines. Okay, in this example here, we're going to use the final assembly of a head, or sometimes called a header, trailer. And a header is a device that attaches to the front of a combine. It cuts the plants, it feeds the vegetables into the combine. And then farmers put that head onto a trailer and transport it from farm to field so that the combine doesn't take up multiple lanes of traffic. Okay, so on the left here is the process tree. This process panel shows the process tree. And you can see the head trailer file assembly, that's my routing, and I have 7 stations on this line. Under the first operation here, we have 5 possible activities, dependent on the product model. And then expand the first activity, and you can see that there are 3 work steps. So this is the process tree, and I'll expand the bolt-on assembly station to show some more activities and work steps. Now, one thing to note is that there's more data available now, okay, in the process tree. So you can see your times, etc. And here I can see all my SOP images. I can see that a bunch of these do not have SOP images attached to the activities and work steps yet. So that's another good change. Now, another new feature is that you can click on an activity, all right, or work step or operation, and then drag and drop it in the process tree to resequence, which is another big time saver. Okay, so on the right we see another panel, and you'll see at the bottom here there are 13 different tabs, all showing different process information. Okay, so I'm going to walk through those. Go back to the routing level, right? So remember, we have routing, operation, activity, and work steps. Now, the viewer panel here is active at routing, operation, activity, all 3 levels. Same for consumption. So here we see the consumption. I'm at the routing level, so I see the consumption for the line. Documents tab is also active at each different entity, at each different level. There are no documents attached to this routing. Now, for the operation is active for the routing level. The edit model option tab is active for the routing level, and then I'll come down to an operation here. Edit model option is still active. Activity list is active for the operation level. And then I'll come down to the activity level. And then the next 7 tabs are active for activities. Work steps for the activity, resources for the activity, time. So if you're doing your estimated time, calculated time, MTM mode apps, whatever. If you're going to do your MUDA studies, all right, your ergonomics, or if you're going to do your video time studies. The media tab shows your videos and images associated to each activity. The model and option tab shows the models and options that are mapped to each activity. And then we have any custom fields and properties. So these 13 tabs here. Now let me come back to the CAD viewer for a second here. And I just want to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to expand this model tree. Okay, so this is a model tree, and this is how, what it looks like, the different CAD nodes showing the different instances of use of each part. So this is the first instance of this particular part. This is its second, and you can see them here highlighted, okay, in the CAD model viewer here. Now, the second part here, the item ID and level, those are referring to the engineering BOM. Okay, so the parts in the CAD model have to match the same naming convention, the same exact naming as the engineering BOM. And you can see here that all of these do match, okay, except you come down here, the product engineers called this particular hex bolt AI in the CAD model, and then in the BOM, they called it H bolt. So in this situation, you have to work with the ProPlaner developers, and they'll create an item ID mapping file, configuration file, to associate the EBOM and the CAD model properly, so you don't have any issues. All right, and I'll just shrink this back here. Now, again, I just want to touch it. The instances are very important. The -1, -2, -3, etc. It's important. It'll become important later because you have to, when you're doing consumption, you have to tell the software which specific instance, which specific use of that part are you consuming. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Now, you can rearrange these tabs. Okay, you can drag them, and I could let it float and then drag it to a second or third monitor. But I'm going to just dock it right there. And then I'm going to grab my consumption here. Again, I can put it right here, right here. All right, I'm going to put it just at the top right here. And then I'm going to go with my media tab. All right, so then you can drag and drop, drag these to resize them, etc. However you want. Okay. All right, now if one point is, if you close the software right now, if you close the virtual build module and you come back in, your panel arrangement will be saved. Okay, that's another new change. And then in the future, we're going to have name views, so you can have one view, name view for if you're doing consumption work. You can have another name view if you're doing time and motion study, etc. Okay. Now, notice the new look of these menus. Now, they're Microsoft Office-like menus, so I'll just walk through those. The process filter here will filter the process data and all the associated process data based on model, right? In the familiar way, options, units, or specific stations. Okay. You can undo check-in, check-in, check-out. You can also do that from the model tree. Right mouse click on the process tree, expand, collapse. As I showed you, you can drag and drop to move entities around. You can use the menu here to move them up or down, copy it, so forth. The auto build model option function has been added to the workspace. So again, that's if you perform your consumption, then that tool, powerful tool, will automatically map product models and options to your activities based on parts consumed. Then you have where used and history as well. Come down to install slow moving vehicle sign. And we'll go into consumption. All right, so install slow moving vehicle sign. That activity is consuming 3 parts. And so a couple things you can do now is right mouse click, highlight the part so you can see the part was highlighted there. All right, you can isolate the part. Okay. Some valuable tools. I'll show all CAD nodes. Go back to my CAD viewer here. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, but I'm going to show you color highlighting here, consumption status highlighting. All right. So you can see this legend here. Gray means those parts have been consumed. Red means not consumed. So here, you can see these 2 taillights here have not been consumed yet. All right, so let's do that. And there's a few different ways to do that. Fastest and easiest is from the CAD model. I'm going to turn off that highlighting it. Okay. All right, and then so now at this point, so you could add new activities and work steps. I already have an activity created, so I'm going to come down to install light rear driver, and I'm going to zoom in on this particular light. So there's a light and a grommet. So I select that light in its CAD node and instance is highlighted here. Grommet, back and forth, back and forth. So to do consumption and instance mapping at the same time, I'm just going to drag these. I could move them to a work step or an activity. I'm just going to drop them on the activity. Okay, so what's it still going to do? Two things, right? It's going to update the consumption for that activity to consume the light and the grommet. And it's going to do the instance mapping. Because I grabbed the specific instance of use of those parts, that information is saved as well. So I don't need to do instance mapping in the future. Now, alternatively, you can do consumption a few other different ways. All right, so in that orange there means it's instance mapped. All right, so consumption menu. So I can do consumption. I can do consumption the usual ways, but within the workspace now, right? So I can add from BOM, select from a BOM and choose its parts to automatically consume. That'll do consumption that way. Add from a library, okay, or compare BOM, which I'll get into in a second, which is the longtime users know that is the consumption workbench. Now, but if I do consumption through those three methods, okay, I still have to do instance mapping, right? Because think about a bolt, right? There's lots of uses of bolts, and you can consume those bolts from BOM, from the library, from your BOM diff results when you do BOM compare. But you have to tell the software exactly which use, which instance of that bolt you want to consume. Okay, so mapping status here shows me that I haven't instance mapped all of my lights and grommets. Okay, and let me just zoom out here. Actually, CAD views, boom, let's go like this. Okay, so map to CAD nodes is how you do the instance mapping. All right, so if again, let me just take a step back. If you consume from add BOM, add from library, or BOM compare, then you have to do the additional step of instance mapping, which orange has been mapped, the yellow hasn't. So what you would do is you would just come in, select your part, and then click on the yellow to do the instance mapping. It's that easy. Okay. Now, BOM compare. BOM compare is a hugely important tool, right? So what are you doing? You're comparing a bill of process against a bill of materials, and you're matching them up against each other to ensure 100% correct consumption of the full BOM. And you can add the parts and assemblies from library, from BOM, from ECO if you use Assembly Planner's engineering change management functionalities. Okay. So when you do that, you add your BOM, you add your parts and assemblies, you got your process here, and you close it. There will be a BOM diff results section of the consumption tab. And then another thing you can do is go to the CAD viewer and highlight BOM consumption difference comparison. And what that'll do is, so the BOM diff comparison tells you, hey, you have to add these parts, you have to delete these parts because they're not needed, you have to change these parts, like change the quantity. And what it'll do is it'll highlight those parts in the CAD model. It'll highlight the parts you need to add as green, parts you need to delete as red, and a part you need to change as yellow. Okay, so that's a new, very valuable tool set as well. Okay, so I'm going to stay here with the CAD viewer menu for a second, and I'm going to go to CAD model filtering. Actually, I'm going to click on stage to trailer activity. CAD viewer, CAD model filtering. So show up to selected processes. That's going to be your virtual build, right? So let's select that. And this is the way the trailer comes in, right? Then skip through these and then install moving vehicle sign, slow moving vehicle sign. Then install rear end caps, okay? Then install that light and grommet we just did consumption for. Install slider base, okay? Install slider base right. And then you could just, I click through these and then you can just see the product build at each activity. I'll click on tire and fender assembly so you can see it kind of complete like that. Okay, so that is your virtual build. Now there's a new thing where with color highlighting. So let me go back to stage the trailer and my CAD viewer. Now when you select show up to selected processes, there's another color highlighting called previous/current highlighting. Right, so that's how it comes in. Then install slow moving vehicle sign. So you can see in orange the parts that are being added. Install rear end caps. Install that light we just added consumption for. Slider base left. Slider base right. All right, and you get the idea. Okay? So let me take that off. Highlight. So then I'll come back here to slow moving vehicle sign and CAD model filtering. So if I only want to show the current process's consumption, okay, that's what that's for. And you can multi-select different processes here and show just the parts that they're consuming. Okay, color highlighting, we walked through that. Display 3D CAD views, that turns on your CAD views here. So I click on this, 3D CAD view, 3D CAD view, et cetera, right? And then you just, set up your CAD model the way you want it, add view, you can delete a view, edit its name. So you can see I've changed the names of some of these. And then, you can select a view, modify the position of the product, and then update the view. Home CAD view takes you back to the home, initial setting CAD view. If I select a part, you can hide it or show it, or select something else here and isolate or show all. Selection color, change it. Mine's green, as you just saw. These two are self-explanatory. Transform is when you're going to do your exploded views. Very easy. Cutting planes, XYZ cutting planes to cut, look inside product. Magnifier call out, just select your window there and then boom. So your magnifier call outs. Okay. Now, media tab, or the medium menu. Okay, so now this is where you are going to have your images and videos associated with your activities. Now, first thing I want to differentiate CAD snapshot and SOP CAD image. So here you see all these different images, okay? You got the media tab, these different images. Now, you go to the documents tab. They're all here. So really, what you're looking at here in the media tab, all these images are those libraries of images associated with your activity. Now, a CAD snapshot, SOP CAD image is different. Those are used for work instructions. So you have to you have to map the image to the activity or work step and make it an SOP CAD image so it'll show up in your work instructions. And there's two ways you can do that. So I'll grab this picture here and drag it to this work step. Okay, just update the data. And then you'll see, okay, so you can see right here, that image is now assigned to work step 10. Right, and there's another way to do it. So, you can set up your CAD image however you want. All right, and then if you click on SOP CAD image, it be, yeah, it'll associate. Let me just go back here, so I'm just making sure I'm clicking on one. Okay, so there I got an activity selected, and I'll click on SOP CAD image. So now if I hit save, then it's going to attach that picture to the activity for use in work instruction. So there's a difference. CAD snapshot, library images, SOP CAD images are work instruction images. Okay. Now there's another one here where you can see that this slow moving vehicle sign has a picture attached to it. And what that is for use in the the shop floor work instruction. So if you're using shop floor view or MES system for your work instructions, you'll know that we show all the tools required, pictures, video, CAD, and we also show the parts required. We show the description and the quantity. But if you capture a consumption image here, so you might want to isolate that part, okay? And if you capture a consumption CAD image, then it will, in the shop floor view work instructions, you'll see that picture associated with that part, okay? Now, last but not least, select an image here and edit with image editor. So here is your image editor, and I'll just drag this over, make this a little bit bigger. So in here, you can, have your standard call outs. Okay, so you can annotate. All right, you can do custom call outs, add an image, from your computer, add a, different, quality container. You can just mark it up and then save that. Your image will be updated for use in your work instructions. And then the nice thing is here is you don't have to use, Visio, PowerPoint, Excel. You can just use it in the same environment, edit your work instruction pictures. And then when you come out of it, and then you go back into this image at a later time using the image editor, you can just move things around very quickly. It's all quickly editable. Okay. So that's an overview of all of the changes to the Assembly Planner virtual build module in this third major update. And I want to encourage you to continue your use and giving us feedback as we continuously improve the product. Thank you.